I have to ask. Mr. Hensby, we've been fighting the C&D site for 8 years, conspiracy? You can say it. It's your second word anyway.
Transparency.
But you and I have been sending emails back and forth, and I really have not seen that from you. And it seems like we still don't know what's going on, or if you're fighting for the community. And my question is, it's been out there for 8 years. Everyone says it should not be there, but how are you gonna fight for the community? And second, the bylaws have been rejected for too long, because when it come to the C&D sites, it was like, whoops, we forgot, and you added a little blurb, and they should have been updated years ago with the environmental and everything that's happening. What will you do about the bylaws to protect our community, and if you're gonna fight for it?
Okay, actually, the question goes first to Will, and then we'll get to this.
Are we talking about the construction, is that the construction dump in Lake Echo?
Yes.
I thought that was dead in the water.
That's what everyone says. It has not been signed off. It's still in Supreme Court as far as I know. Sorry.
So when I read and so I have to plead ignorance, because when I read it recently, in the last couple of days, I thought it was, when I went to go research it, that it was dead in the water. So my apologies, I'll have to go back and look at it. But
Maybe Mr. Hensky can answer.
pardon me?
What does that mean, dead in the water? You mean issues?
That it was done, that it failed, it wasn't happening. That's the impression, unless I read it wrong, that's the impression I got.
We were told that twice before this.
Okay, let's get David's response.
My understanding is still before the court in regards to the decision that the URB overturned the municipal decision. The municipality turned down the C&D site at their Lake Echo Florida State boundary there on Highway number 7. But that got overturned, challenged and overturned by the URB, and now we're challenging that decision. The other issue, though, is I've been advocating with the province, with the MLA, now that the boundaries changed for the 2 provincial ridings, used to be the Preston constituency, now it's the Eastern Shore constituency. But I've been telling Twyla Gross, the Preston MLA, and Ken Smith, the Eastern Shore MLA, that the province needs to correct this matter. I even put a proposal for them that the province can expropriate the property and do an exchange for property with us, Industrial Park, because they have the authority and ability to do so. The municipality cannot provide a subsidy or an incentive for private business, where the province can do that. And I've been advocating that with the MLAs to do that. And hopefully they will come to light and see that one. But as it stands now, community management has been put their application on hold until the court decision to be finalized and things. But if you look at my literature, it's still in there. The fight is still on, and I'm not giving up on it.
Sorry, you've been saying that from day one now.
And yes, and we've been successful today to keep it off the books, to keep it off the highway there. But the problem is that we still got the higher court to deal with, and hopefully the province will intercede, but they should have been at the very beginning. In regards to updating the bylaws and stuff, it's true the regional plan from time to time reviews all the bylaws as issues come forward. We've had that with construction demolition debris facilities. We've even had recently with cannabis facilities and stuff like that. As those things come forward, we had recently now with the shared housing opportunities. We're now dealing with the issue of short-term rental properties issues. So the bylaws do need to get updated. The problem is the municipality trying to do it across the board. So the next major review they're doing next after they've done the central urban plan is now the suburban plans. They're looking at reviewing and updating the suburban plans. And once that's done, they're going to go to the rural plan. So they can start in the middle, try and get the most return on investment where all the big property opportunities are, and keep coming out. So that's the struggle we got to face.
Okay, another question? Thank you, David. Any other questions? I'm going to jump in now since there's a moment pause, and I'm going to actually raise a new question. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, go ahead. I'll come back to my
My
question.
name's Bruce Bailey, and my name's been thrown around a bit here tonight, so I think I've earned the right to speak. I apologize for being late, but I'll tell you why I was late. I picked up a person at the airport this afternoon and drove her all the way to Harrigan Cove. Can you imagine, and I'm not trying to insult any taxi drivers if you're here, but can you imagine what that's gonna cost a person to pay a taxi to go from the airport to Harrigan Cove? Well, guess what? They didn't have to pay anywhere near that. And I'm gonna stop disclosing to people what I do get as an income coming in for it, because the taxi business, the taxi agency, whatever you wanna call it, in HRM has failed the Eastern Shore big time. People can't, I drive a person to 27 kilometers to Dartmouth from West Porter's Lake. He's charged $60 to go to work. So if he pays that to go home, that's $120 a day.
Do you have a question?
Yes, I do. My question is, when is council gonna wake up and get this law changed? Because we are really shortchanging all the people on the Eastern Shore. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. I knew this would be an issue when the council decided to agree with the taxi industry in regards to opening up the boundaries. You know, my fear was, if we had a rural taxi service, what's going to stop that person to go to downtown areas, to go where the gravy is, instead of sticking to rural areas? That's exactly what happened when they opened up the boundaries. I always felt that they should have zones in regards to what areas they can get the license for and what areas they should be able to serve. But that's an issue, is that we should go back to zone management for the taxi industry instead of leaving it wide open and let them go wherever they want to go.
Okay, thank you. Will?
I think this goes back to what we talked about in the beginning of how amalgamation just hasn't worked for us here in District 2. We have somebody that wants to basically volunteer his time to drive people around where they need to go and is being punished for it when we have services like Musco Rider, which is an amazing service and is funded and is door-to-door. They get $124,000 a year from HRM, and they do a great job, but they're often booked, or they're limited in their hours. We have Porter's Lake Taxi. I own a restaurant. Try to get Porter's Lake Taxi when I have an event, they're booked. So we have this man who wants to help out the community, but it has to be fair. So it just shows, again, that what works for downtown doesn't work for District 2. This is just another example, and we could sit here till 10:30 at night listing all the examples of why it doesn't work.
Okay, thank you. Another question? I guess I'm going to jump in with a new question since there's a little pause here. A few years ago, we were raising a flag at the community garden for, I think, the Pride Festival. And we were looking at the stand that's there, which is deteriorating. And I think, David, you said something about fixing it.
Yes, he did. We were there.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually Will's turn to go first.
I'll fix it.
Okay, very concise. David.
First of all, I get permission from the property owner. Proper highways owns the property, so we're gonna make sure we get permission to do that, work within the right of way of a highway. It's the first thing we need to do. Second is to find which type of infrastructure we want to put. We want to go back to wood decking. Rather see more of a cement mosaic compass roads put there, something more permanent that doesn't worry about being replaced after 2 years of rot. I know that the MLA, Ken Smith, has been talking with Shaw Brick and having an opportunity of having a brick patio for the town clock at the railway station. So it says, asking them, is that offer still available from Shaw Brick, and can we duplicate that for a second project at the community garden site? So it's still a work in progress, but we got to find the resources to do it.
Any other questions? I'm gonna, oh, okay, there we come, Bruce, thank you.
I find it interesting. I'm Bruce Manning, by the way. I moved back here 2 years ago. I'm the guy who raised the sidewalks on. So, we've talked about amalgamation, de-amalgamation. It's been a success, it's been a failure. I find it odd when I look at how HRM Council is architected around these community councils, but there is no rural council. We're lumped in with a bunch of suburban and I would say urban districts, which makes no sense at all. What is your thought about having an actual hardcore rural community council where all of our common rural concerns could be discussed? And we're not outnumbered.
Yeah.
We're the only
Here,
rural district in our community council. We're outnumbered 5-1. That makes no sense. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, and as a stepping stone, maybe towards fixing what amalgamation is broken. Thank you.
Well, I can tell you the community councils came from the concept in the Halifax County days. If you go back in history, the town of Sackville, Cole Harbour, were talking about de-amalgamating from the county and being a township of their own, or annexed into Dartmouth or Bedford. And so the community councils came as a solution back then. The county to have some localized authority for zoning issues and stuff like that, and community planning. So back in the early days of amalgamation, we did have a rural community council called Marine Drive Valley and Canal. That was districts 1, 2, and 3 at the time. So that took in Eastern Shore, Musqueam Valley, and the Fall River. But as the years progressed and the population shifted and the boundaries changed, community council requires 3 districts under the current legislation. So we need these 3 districts of commonality. I know that Pam and I talked about having a rural community council, having the Hubbards, Beaverbank with Upper Sackville, come around the valley and Eastern Shore. That has been discussed. But the issue was, with regards to the administrative support, is that the community council also built on the structure of how the municipal planning office works. There's the Western Community Council dealing with the peninsula out west, and there's the Northwest Community Council deals with the areas of Sackville, Beaverbank, and Hubbard's area. And then we have the Harbour East Marine Drive Community Council deals with Dartmouth and Eastwood. So the 16 districts are basically 5 or 6 members per community council. But to go back to having a rural council, it's a possibility. We'll see what the new council, who's elected for the new council, talk to those new rural councillors. With Pam offering for mayor her seat, and Hubbard's become available for a new council in that area. Lisa Blackburn is not re-offering, but the redistribution brought Beaverbank into Lower Sackville. So would we consider Sackville a rural community? I don't think so. So the question is we got to find commonality. There might be an opportunity to look at Eastern Passage because they have the rural communities of Cal Bay that could be just the same as Lawrencetown. So the question is, could that qualify as a district of interest? So that's what it stands now.
Thanks, David. Will, you want to comment?
I think this is one of the easiest questions of the night. I think this is low-hanging fruit. I think we should have a rural council. The Marine Drive Council right now consists of District 5, which is downtown, District 4, District 2, and what's Mancini's new district?
6 and 3.
6. That doesn't really reflect. I mean, that's great for Dartmouth and everything that Dartmouth needs, but that doesn't really reflect us. I think we have more in common with Pam and Hammonds Plains or Beaverbank Eastern Passage, I never even thought of that. That's great as well. But I think putting those councillors together, not only are we going to have a lot of commonality, a lot of things that are the same in a lot of the trials and tribulations, but we can brainstorm and come up with better solutions that work for our community. So I think that question is potentially the easiest one of the night, and low-hanging fruit, and something that can be done right off the bat.
Okay. Okay.
Hi, I've got a question. I have to follow up on this. Pamela Place, Council for Hannah's Plain St. Margaret's. I put forward a motion to have a rural action committee, to have a rural council, community council. That rural action committee is primarily charged with working with our abutting municipalities. We share recreation, fire, police. We share a lot as communities, and for Hubbard's in my district, Ecum Seacom on the shore here, we're split in half. So we've got some significant issues. So my question to you is, will you move forward with supporting the Rural Action Committee to ensure that at council, staff are held accountable for getting this done, and more importantly, that council creates this community action committee specifically because we need to update our rural bylaws. As we talked about earlier, those rural bylaws must be updated, and we can't continue to wait for the rural plan, because our economic future depends on that. Our social future depends on our rural bylaws getting updated. So I'm just basically looking for a yes and no, any consideration or context that you'd like to add. Thank you.
Thank you.
November 6th, council gets sworn in. I'm lucky enough to be sworn in on November 6th at 6 p.m. At 6:30, I'll bring this up. So it's really important to me, and I guess that's the point. And again, like I said, I think it's low-hanging fruit, something, yes. And to answer your question, I would love to work on that and make sure that we get that done sooner than later.
Pam, you as our mayor, it would be easy to have a rural action plan established. And also, because of the issues we kept raising, HRM brought in the rural planning team to help deal with our development applications. We were finding that a lot of our development applications were being in the bottom of the pile because the ones in downtown Halifax that have the larger return on investment opportunities were getting the higher attention. But we said, no, we got to have an opportunity where our rural applications have their just due and just time for our consideration. So we now have a rural planning team to deal with those applications. And it's part of that action plan is to make sure that we do get the attention in a timely fashion.
Yeah, that was a yes, I guess.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, you are.
another question. Okay, I have a question that I just thought of, and I did actually ask this ahead of time of the candidates. And fires were just mentioned, and weather changes. What tangible things will you do to prevent and reduce climate change? Fires, there's many one-way roads. What will you do? David?
They say act local, think global in regards to climate change issues. The question is what we can do locally. I've seen too many wildfires in our district. I've seen too many floods. I've seen too many cold nights and extended power outages. The question is we have to make our community more resilient. That was a lesson from Hurricane Juan 2003 when I got elected back at council. We learned that we were out of power along the Eastern Shore for weeks. Now we have generators in all our community facilities and fire halls. So we now have that capacity of resiliency. We'll be able to start our community halls for comfort centers wherever necessary. So we have a response to that. In regards to wildfire mitigation, yes, we need to look at auxiliary exits to our 100 series highways in 2 or 3 places on Highway 107. But we can have that for Lake Echo and Lineville and Lawrencetown. But to really get further out here, the question is we need to look at our back road connections. For instance, west of Heswood to East Jessica. The mine drove finally got gravelled up by the problems the last couple of years. It'd be great if they just paved that road and make that as a secondary access for those 2 communities to get out. Same thing with Lineville to East Lawrencetown. There is a development proposal looking at connecting Shoreline Road to Candy Mountain Road to Leslie Road. It'd be great to have that connection done, but the problem is that property is in private hands. And until we have the ability to work with the province to get access to one of the streets highways, it's one of the things we learned from recent wildfires in Upper 10 Town. We need to get those opportunities made available to us.
Thank you. And Will?
Just gonna read from the comment that I wrote, so because I want to make sure it comes across properly. We won't solve climate change just with an HRM. It's a global issue that affects every country, state, province, and city on the planet. While we must do our part locally, we also need to advocate for action on a broader scale. This is the greatest challenge humanity has ever faced, and it requires collective responsibility and global cooperation to overcome. That being said, as Dave alluded to, there are several things we can do to address this at a municipal level. One, our recycling program. We should look at successful programs in other cities and see what could work for us. Vancouver is ranked #1 in Canada. We're a close second. They have a 60% recycling rate. I don't know for second, but we have 57, which is very commendable, but we can do better. What can we learn from them? There's often confusion around our own recycling efforts. For example, do we need to use water to clean containers, especially if they're being washed at the depot? We could also expand the bin program. Instead of blue bags, why not switch to blue bins? In areas with bear issues, bear-proof bins would encourage more people to recycle properly instead of seeking alternatives. Additionally, we could allow charities raising money through bottle returns to receive the full 10-cent deposit, creating funding for them and creating a greater initiative to recycle. Transportation, we can work with the province to widen the shoulders on highways, allowing electric bikes and scooters to move safely through the district. Bringing in rental services like Halifax scooters could also promote more eco-friendly transportation options in our area. And it's important that HRM continue to push for hybrid and electric vehicles in its fleet. This move is critical for reducing emissions and setting an example for sustainability at the local government level. These are all steps we can take to make a difference at this level while addressing both environmental and community needs. That's all I got.
Okay, thank